It's Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. Donald Trump is back on X, kind of and barely. More drip, drip, drip on Tim Walz, and Anthony Fauci emerges from his spider hole. Next on the AM Update. Well, after suffering massive technical difficulties that X-owner Elon Musk attributed to a massive denial of service attack on his social media site X, eventually, well, after the time when they were scheduled to begin, Elon Musk and Donald Trump did indeed have their scheduled interview. Of course, we're not going to talk about everything that Donald Trump and the Trump campaign said about Ron DeSantis during the GOP primary. Did we have one of those? Regarding his glitchy kickoff on X, but eventually that did happen. And still waiting to see who Elon Musk attributes this massive cyber attack to. It was less of an interview, more of a really free-flowing, filibustering conversation.
With stupid people like Biden. You know, Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, and I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ. He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all. There's nothing on the board that goes this low.
And Donald Trump is indeed kind of back on X. It seems like it's his campaign that's doing most of the posting, but he's done a few videos like this one.
Remember that nothing worth doing is ever easy. You'll have bad moments. You gotta love what you're doing. And if you don't, just do something else. Keep standing up always for your values. Keep loving your country. And one of the most important things, never, ever quit. Never quit.
Hopefully this is more of the tone that Trump and his campaign hits for the rest of the campaign. In addition to, of course, smacking Kamala Harris on her awful, awful record. That was one of the videos, at least a sample thereof, that Donald Trump and his campaign put out on his old at real Donald Trump X profile. Used to be the last time he was on X, it was called Twitter. They also released 20 core promises to America yesterday as well. The campaign also announced a couple of new rally stops. So it seems like maybe the gears are starting to grind finally over in Trump land. Those 20 core promises to America include things like sealing the border, preventing World War III, rebuilding cities, keeping the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, cutting federal funding for any school pushing CRT, radical gender ideology, so on, keeping men out of women's sports, deporting pro-Hamas radicals, and making colleges great again, stop outsourcing. Just a lot of America First action points in 20 succinct sentences that the Trump campaign put out yesterday. Last thing kind of regarding Trump today, there was a break-in reported at the Donald Trump campaign office in suburban Virginia. The break-in was reported late Sunday at the campaign office in Ashburn, according to the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. The building in a suburban office park about 30 miles west of downtown Washington also serves as the headquarters of the Virginia 10th District Republican Committee. So I'm not really sure what a field office, what information, sensitive or otherwise, would actually have available. Maybe this is just a run-of-the-mill, just petty criminal break-in, but that's something to keep an eye on. Kamala Harris, what do you think about the state of things? What do you think about the campaign? How's your campaign going?
What's your favorite curse word?
I can't say it. It starts with an M and it ends with a. Not ER.
Karine Jean-Pierre, White House press secretary, on what she believes is Kamala Harris's biggest accomplishment.
What does the president see as the vice president's biggest achievement during their time in office together?
So look, because they've been partners, those achievements have been done, certainly. Those historic, unprecedented achievements have been done together. I'll say this, the president believes in the vice president leadership, her temperament, her experience, and he has said this himself, One of the proudest decisions that he made in 2020 was selecting her as vice president because he believed that she can go on day one. And you've seen them do that together on day one of this administration. That doesn't change. I'm not going to parse out anything from here. They have been partners. She's been a critical partner for this president for during this term, and will continue to do so. You will see them together on Thursday in Maryland, where they would talk about their next announcement.
So Karine Jean-Pierre is really good at, and has gotten even better in her time as White House press secretary, at saying a lot of absolutely nothing. And I think the reason that she says a lot of nothing over a long period of time instead of just answering with short sentences is because she knows that the longer she goes, the fewer questions she actually has to answer from the press. I think that's why she does it, and she's gotten incredibly good at doing so. More on Tim Walz's stolen valor. This is a Facebook post, or at least a sample of a Facebook post from Colonel John Kolb. That was Tim Walz's battalion commander and direct supervisor, who went on to trash Walz's stolen valor lies. Colonel John Kolb, I should say, wrote this in a Facebook post recently. Quote, "I do not regret that Tim Walz retired early from the Minnesota Army National Guard, did not complete the Sergeant's Major Academy, broke his enlistment contract, or did not successfully complete any assignment as Sergeant Major. Unwittingly, he got out of the way for better leadership. Tom Behrens was the right leader at the right time. He sacrificed to answer the call, leaving his family, business, and farming partner brother to train, lead, and care for soldiers. He earned the privilege of being called Command Sergeant Major. Like a great leader, he ran towards and not away from the guns." Again, that was Tim Walz's direct supervisor while he was in the Army National Guard every single day. Every single day, something new is coming out about Tim Walz, and this is just on one issue alone, stolen valor. Dr. Anthony Fauci is back from his spider hole with the most predictable update ever. Anthony, take it away.
I got infected about 2 weeks ago. It was my third infection, and I had been vaccinated and boosted a total of 6 times.
So just so we have all those numbers straight here, let's listen to that again.
I got infected about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
It was my third infection. And I had been vaccinated and boosted a total of 6 times.
6 times. So 2, 3, and 6. 2 weeks ago, his latest infection. That is his third infection, and he's been boosted and vaccinated 6 times. 2, 3, and 6. That's what we call the Pfizer 236 special. TD Bank announced recently the findings of its annual 2024 Consumer Spending Index, revealing that half of respondents say their spending has increased the most on groceries over the last year, and more than half say they spend most of their money on groceries in a typical month. That's 58% saying that, although inflation has slowed a little bit. Nearly 1/3 of respondents have been cutting back spending due to concerns about the economy, and over 2 in 5, 42% of respondents, have altered their financial priorities over last year. Among those whose priorities have shifted, 27% report covering daily living expenses such as groceries and utilities is the priority that has changed the most. The survey polled more than 1,500 Americans who have a credit card to assess shifts in consumer spending habits, credit usage, and financial priorities. That is, again, the results of a survey from TD Bank. You know, I can say just personally for our family, it is really difficult to keep those grocery bills down. We do most of our grocery shopping at Aldi and Trader Joe's, most of which at Aldi, which of course helps keep the price down. But not everybody has access to that conveniently. I'm not sure how people shop at the major grocery chains around the country. The Boston Red Sox and Major League Baseball have suspended outfielder Jarren Duran for 2 games after he uttered "f*** at a fan during the team's loss Sunday to the Houston Astros. Duran's suspension began yesterday with the game against the Texas Rangers. The Red Sox also announced that Duran's salary from the suspension will be donated to PFLAG, Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, which is an organization that spends in part a lot of their proceeds on helping young people with meatball surgery and chemical castration in the name of gender. If you want to know who you're ruled by in any society, just know whom you're not allowed to offend. And if you want to know how to rule society, keep offending those people, though Probably not a great idea to just go around and indiscriminately shout the F word at every single homosexual you see, but you catch my meaning. The more offensive you become just in the way you live your life, I'm not talking about going out of your way to be needlessly offensive. The more offensive you become and you remain as a Christian, as a believer in the biblical lifestyle, the more sway you're actually going to have. Now, the path towards getting there is not always going to be straightforward. The path towards getting there, usually, at least in church history, involves a lot of persecution and a lot of hard times, but eventually your testimony wins out. So maybe not the best idea to go around yelling the F word at every homosexual, like I said, that you see, but again, this is indicative of the type of society we're living in. Those are the people you cannot offend. Therefore, they are the ones who rule. That's it for the Tuesday edition. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.